Hi, in this video we'll go ahead and make this part. This was on the handout, but you'll notice that I've changed the way the part is dimensioned, as well as I've added in a dimension that was missing. So we're going to go ahead and create the front view, and the dimensioning is put in what's known as baseline dimensioning. And you'll note that these dimensions on the bottom are all dimensioned from this line, as are the ones that are dealing with this top feature, and these vertical dimensions are all being referenced to this baseline at the bottom. So we're going to utilize that and utilize the baseline dimensioning tool that's available under the Smart Dimension tool. So let me grab my origin, move it over here somewhere. All right, the approach we're going to use is to create this front view, and we'll go ahead and utilize the baseline dimensioning format, and we can do that using options under the Smart Dimension tool. So let me go ahead and create a new sketch on the front plane. And just to show that image one more time, we're just going to create a base set of rectangles, and then we'll go ahead and utilize the dimensioning. So let me come in here. I'll create a rectangle and a second rectangle, a third rectangle, and a fourth rectangle. So selecting the drop-down underneath the Smart Dimension tool, we can select the option for baseline dimensioning. And what I'm going to do is select here as my baseline and select this line, then this line, and then this line. You should note when you do this yourself that SOLIDWORKS actually places the dimensions every time you click on a new line. I can do the same thing on the top, but I need to get out of the tool and get back into it. So I can select this as a new baseline, but put these dimensions in. So I'll go back to the tool. I'll do baseline dimension. I'll select here and this dimension, and then this dimension, and then this dimension. Again, I'll go back to select, go back to my baseline dimension. I'll select this, then this one, then this one, then this line, and then this line. And then again select to get out of the tool. So let me just put this over here so we can see it a little bit better. So we'll double click on this dimension, and that'll be 4.5. And this one will be 3.9. And this one will be 0.6. Then we start going up. This gives me 0.5. This one is 1. And we do 1.6. And 2. And these ones on top, 0.5, 1.5, and 2. So the total depth of our object is 2.35, so that'll be our extrusion depth. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll do features, extruded boss. We need to tell it which one we want. We'll enter in the depth of 2.35, and since this part is symmetric, we will select the mid-plane extrusion option. So we have our base part. We can go ahead and put in this cutout hole. So we'll go ahead and we'll select onto this surface. So the first thing we can do is we can put in a center line that goes from the origin here, which is at the midpoint because that's the way we did the extrusion. And then we can use a center rectangle. And we know there's symmetry here in this direction. And that dimension is, I believe it's 0.54. It is. So we can put it in as 0.54. 0.54, and then this dimension is 0.47, and this dimension is 1.56. The extruded cut is going to be through all, so we'll do features, extruded cut. We'll do a through all. And if we rotate the part around, you'll note that this cut actually cuts through a little bit of the front of the part. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to look at our right view. We again note that there's symmetry and that this cutout is controlled by only 2 dimensions. So we'll come over here, do a sketch onto this surface. We again note that because we extrude around the midplane, we again have a center line that we can work with. I can use a center rectangle tool, and we can put in our 2 dimensions. This one is 0.6, and the dimension here is 0.45. And this again will be an extruded cut through all. Okay, let me just move this part over here a little bit so we can see it a little bit easier. And we'll pull over the drawing, and we can see that the 2 isometric views are identical to each other. We can now open up the Evaluate tab, go to Mass Properties, and we would find out that the surface area is 41.38 square inches and the volume is 8.22 cubic inches. Alright, so we put a couple extra things into this video that again was not covered in class. The most specific one being the idea of baseline dimensioning and the knowledge that we can utilize that as another way of putting in dimensions rather than just depending on the Smart Dimension tool. Alright, stay tuned for more videos.